Hello. Hello and good morning, everybody. The session is talking about pre-bunking, and it was a bit heavy with technical terms, and believe me, I did my best to avoid technical terms, but this is my best. If there is any technical terms you feel you need more explanation, please approach me after the session. BBC Media Action is a media development organization. It's the international and independent charity arm of the BBC. We work with partners around the world to provide audience, to provide people with impartial, trustworthy, and accurate information when they need them to build and to make their own choices and decisions. In the world of mis and disinformation, media action focus more on the proactive approach rather than the reactive approach. And by proactive approach, we mean that building resilience within audience against mis and disinformation. Instead of correcting the mis and disinformation, instead of debunking it, we're focusing more on the proactive approach and building the resilience within the audience against this disinformation. Prebunking falls under a proactive approach. Like media literacy also falls under a proactive approach. Prebunking is, the word is like a play around a word debunking. It's kind of a prior debunking or preventative debunking. It's mainly raising awareness content, but it's a structured content. It should follow certain structure. Quickly, prebunking approach or prebunking intervention was developed by the University of Cambridge like a few years ago under the name of inoculation theory. So the initial theory was inoculation, how to inoculate people against disinformation. Again, it's structured. We should follow a certain structure. Prebunking content should include three components: warning audience, warning people about possible disinformation they might encounter, like the warning part is the first part. Explanation, the second part. Explain to people why this is possibly mis or disinformation. The third part is harmless sample, like one example of the disinformation they might encounter. So the three structured together make the prebunking content. In Libya, we had this project in Libya. We built this project on like initial research about audience consumption, about online content consumption, and audience habits. Also, we supported with formative research about what type of disinformation was spread in Libya. Back to the prebunking. What to prebunk if we don't know what we will face in the future? Prebunking could go in two ways. One, tackling narratives, like dealing with narratives instead of small pieces of disinformation, because most of the misinformation, disinformation are feeding in a higher narrative, overarching narrative. Like, for example, the earth is flat. COVID vaccine is harmful, is not useful. So this is the higher narrative, and there is a lot of small pieces of information or misinformation that feeding in this higher narrative. With prebunking, one of the way we do prebunking, we deal with the higher overarching narrative instead of these small pieces. The other way is to deal with tactique or techniques of manipulation. Also, most of the most of the mis and disinformation spread online used what's so-called manipulation techniques, like emotional languages, like personal attack. Instead of criticizing the discourse, we're criticizing the person. We attack the person. Like also scapegoating, conspiration, ideation. So there is a list of manipulation technique. Prebunking could deal with the technique itself, regardless the content. So build the resilience with an audience against this manipulation technique. Again, in Libya, we had this initial project. We did formative research, and we spotted some of the most used techniques, and we try to target a specific target audience. But then we want to follow this structure, but we wanted to make it local. We went very local with that project, and we brought local content creators to brainstorm the most possible and useful format, treatment to this content. And we figured out that there is preferences to have it short, funny, light, comedy sometimes, indirect sometimes, and bringing stories from the society, from the local societies. We developed 8 different scenarios. We tested them. We did a lot of focus groups, and we prioritized like 4 of them. We produced 4 in different shape, in different formats, and we also tested them again after the production. We selected 2 pieces. One is a short drama, mini drama, funny comedy drama, talking about scapegoating, raising awareness about the scapegoating technique in spreading disinformation. The other was animation, educational content, straightforward, targeting audience, talking about emotional language. We tested these 2 videos like on national representative sample, and we got 2 significant results so far, relatively significant. The first one, people who were exposed to the scapegoating content were less willing to share this kind of content when they encounter it. And people who were exposed to the emotional language were more able to spot emotional language and avoid it. And this is relatively, I said relatively because it's comparable with the control group. We had like control group and the group who were exposed to this prebunking content. Where to go next in this? We're trying to develop kind of strategy to be implemented on our work in the whole countries we're working in. And we want to go beyond short formats. We want to look for fun to go beyond short format, maybe to go for a drama production, because in our experience also, drama was more able to tackle complicated issues, to open a discussion, a safe discussion about complicated issues in societies, and to contribute in social and behavior change. So this is our future steps, going to develop strategy for that, for prebunking work, and also trying to implement it on longer format and mainly drama format. This is the presentation in general. I hope it was clear, and yeah, as I mentioned after the session, if there is any question or need to elaboration, please approach me. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So I'm going to ask the second speaker to come to the stage because we need to do some technical preparation. So please go ahead. And in the meantime, while they get ready, all of you, you have received a bag when you did the registration. So we have a very fun activity prepared for you. after like 12:30 when we go for lunch, you can customize your box. You will find a set with paintings and different like kinds of like draws. And if you want, you can play and you can paint your box and change and make it like personal during the conference. That's because we're doing a collaboration with a company called Besart, and we are painting at the same time a huge mural very close to here, like 10 minutes walk, next to the river. Next to the river, we have like the biggest open museum in Europe. That's what they call, with lots of graffitis. And we have an artist called Libya painting a special mural just for the conference. And on Saturday and Sunday, we will make groups to go to help her. So it's a big, nice community activity that we want to propose you. It's going to be like around lunchtime tomorrow and Sunday, but we can go there and help the artist to make the mural, and you will see that it's really, really big, a reality. And if we are ready, I'll let you hear with Felix Kufus.
Thank you very much. Hi, thank you very much. I'm very happy to be here. We are going to very quickly connect my computer because I want to show you one interactive report. Great. So my name is Felix Kufus. I'm working with the Finnish peacemaking organization CMI, Martti Ahtisaari Peace Foundation, as an advisor in their digital peacemaking team. And I'm here today with my colleague, Michele Giovanardi. And I have the joy to present to you today a digital engagement process that we conducted in Yemen this year. So just briefly about the background of this process. So CMI has been supporting cross-party dialogue in Yemen for many years. Last year we conducted a joint vision building process with representatives of 7 different Yemeni political parties. And the objective was to first create a shared vision of Yemen's political future in 2040. And second, based on that vision, to develop a concrete policy roadmap across a range of different thematic areas, including the rule of law, peace and reconciliation, economy, a future constitution in Yemen, and so forth. And it was quite a long process that took well over a year, involving near monthly rounds of dialogue, and also several moments where we thought that the process might be stalled or break down. But indeed, then finally it was able to complete it and also get the approval by the leadership of all 7 political parties. But shortly before the round of approval from the party leadership actually happened, it was agreed, and to our great relief, that the youth wings of all 7 political parties get the chance to at least give their inputs into, the vision statement that was created and the policy, the roadmap. So the question was then, how do we engage with a wide range of people, of youth representatives living across Yemen, often in areas we cannot physically reach? We cannot get them to some kind of a centralized space where we can engage in person, but how to give them the opportunity to actually share in-depth opinion about the vision statement and the policy roadmap that was shared with them before. And our approach combined 2 components. First, a WhatsApp chatbot as a front-end interface. We choose WhatsApp because it's a widely used and trusted platform among our stakeholders, and nearly everyone was familiar with the platform, and no special apps to download and no platforms to learn and so forth. And the second, the back end of this tool, is based on the Talk to the City Sensemaking tool developed by the AI Objective Institute. And without that tool, this entire approach would have not been possible. And also, they are publishing their code open source, so it was able. So we were able to actually adjust it more to our needs in that process. So how it worked in practice was that we shared a clickable sort of like WhatsApp link through WhatsApp, and the youth representatives of the different parties clicked on the link, the chat window opened, the chatbot came to life, and first started by sort of like sharing general accounts, sort of like why, an introduction, why we are reaching out, sort of like reminding about the vision building process, about the statement, the vision statement, and so forth, and then asking a couple of demographic questions. regarding, gender, age, geographic location, political affiliation, and so forth, before it then started to ask 10 open-ended questions. So while the survey was going on, we were able to actually monitor it live over this dashboard, seeing how many people are responding, from which parties the people are coming, and especially like through how many questions did they already go. And what struck us was to see a high level of engagement. I mean, many of those were actively invited, so the number of 132 was not such a surprise, but what was a surprise was the completion rate of 95%, so that a lot of people actually went through all of the open-ended questions. And not only that, but because of the fact that you can answer those WhatsApp open-ended questions, not only in text form, but also via voice message, people actually shared very long, very comprehensive answers to those questions. So we ended up with really a huge amount of information, of really thoughtful and detailed answers to all the questions. And then the AI Sensemaking sort of like came to use. And here I quickly show you a version of the actual report, because it's an interactive one, and then it's maybe a bit better to see. Okay. So that is the report that you can create over the Talk to the City tool. You sort of like upload all the different answers to the survey in a certain formattation, and then it sort of like analyzes the main topics. In our case, six main topics, 18 subtopics, and 1,760 so-called representative claims. So in the interest of time, I'll just go very quickly through that and show you. So those are the main topics: political stability, youth engagement, economic development, social justice, and so forth. There are a lot of like subtopics like political pluralism, national reconciliation, job creation, and so forth. So these are basically the main topics the people spoke to in the survey that were on top of their minds. And even though the open-ended questions were formulated in a very broad way, they actually sort of like mentioned exactly those points that was of great relevance throughout the workshop. Now you can then basically look here and see all those representative sort of like arguments from the people. So these are things like integrating all military formations under the Ministry of Defense is essential for state stability, or the historical burdens carried by the current elite hinder progress, while youth are untamed by this past and seek opportunities. So these are basically statements that are a summarization of all the different inputs that are given by individual respondents. And you can see, actually, you can see the grounding, you can see the original statements by clicking here, and actually see what the people have in fact answers, sort of like to make sure there are no hallucinations and so forth. This is an older version of the report. You can see there are many statements that only have sort of like one grounding. This is because this tool is very sensitive, or used to be very sensitive, and rather sort of like makes separate statements instead of merging them. But this is actually getting much better with the new sort of like versions of that tool. Okay, I very quickly go to my last slide. Yeah, also a topic that we can speak a lot about with a bit more time, and please do approach me or my colleague. But just very quickly about the main challenges that we encountered, not only in that process, but also in other processes. Of course, there's always the issue of digital access barriers connected with, internet connectivity, with mobile costs, with access to mobile devices and so forth. But in that particular case, we made sure that everyone actually can engage. Another problem that we saw is, of course, trust. The question of, you get a link sent to you, you open that link, and then you basically give statements, answer questions, and you cannot be sure who is on the other side. In our particular case in Yemen was that CMI has a lot of trust in the region, especially with those stakeholders. So that was less of a problem, but with other projects that came after, that was repeatedly a problem. Also, the technical compatibility in Yemen, that wasn't a big issue, but we had processes afterwards, or at least attempts. In Syria, for example, WhatsApp on a personal conversation is possible, but the underlying message handler, Twilio, that you need for the chatbot is completely blocked, for example. So you cannot use that tool in Syria. You have problems using it in Guinea-Bissau because it only works for numbers that are issued after October 2022. So there are, like, you really need to do like a thorough testing of in what context you can actually use the tool. But in Yemen, it worked really, really well. And quickly to the potential, it really enabled us to get sort of like an opportunity to remotely engage with a larger group of people, using an off-the-shelf tool on the front end, WhatsApp, which was well known already. We were able to ask open-ended questions and still get high engagement through the opportunity of actually them submitting answers in voice messages. We have the possibility to actually do a qualitative analysis on quantitative scale with this Sensemaking tool, which was great. Thank you very much. Thank you. Oh, sorry.
Thank you, Felix. So we're going for the third one with my fellow MC, Julie Hawke, who's going to talk about AI and peace building.
Thank you. And also not on the program, but presenting is Alan Chaboy, who works with me at BuildUp. Hi, Alan. Okay, and working with us in this project is everyone listed on this. So Alan and I are presenting, but partners are represented here in the room. So if your name is on the screen, feel free to raise your hand. You can talk to these people about this project as well. Yes, thank you very much. Or stand up. Okay. Yes. Okay, this was a collaborative process, essentially where we're involving peace builders in AI model development.
Yeah, so one of the things that we've discussed a lot is why social media is the way it is, and how, as peace builders, we need to look at social media in order to kind of figure out how that influences the situations that we are in. And one of the things that we built at BuildUp is this open source social media listening tool called Phoenix. It's actually built for you as peace builders because, currently we know that there are more expensive tools, the likes of Meltwater, Brandwatch, Brand24, that many of us already use. But it's super expensive, especially for small organizations that are really on the ground trying to do research and trying to figure out how social media impacts their societies. So what we did is we actually built this tool that is open source that any organization can actually get access to, and you'll be able to do social media analysis.
And one part of Phoenix, as you're building your own models that you might use there, is that you might need to use, you might want to create your own text classification model. So while we're using AI Peacebuilder Collaboration as shorthand, what we're really talking about is the machine learning process of doing text classification models, which is represented by this. If you don't know what a text classification model is essentially a way of taking a large corpus or large amounts of text and adding the right kind of descriptions to them such that you can categorize them in efficient ways. So this project that we're doing had a couple of outputs, and Alan will talk about the first.
All right, so one of the things that we know is we've had a couple of the previous speakers talking about the issue around large language models not understanding the different contexts that we live in, maybe under-resourced languages that you're in regions that don't speak English, or the bigger languages that are really trained on ChatGPT, on the bigger LLMs. And one of the things that we figured at BuildUp is we work in some contexts like in Kenya, in Somalia, in Sudan, and some of these tools don't really work for the languages that are spoken there. So if you're collecting or you're doing social media analysis, not everyone speaks in English, as you know, right? Not everyone speaks in French. So we actually need to build what we call text classification models, and that enables us to actually look at the context of how those words, how those posts on social media are being used to influence societies in one way or another. So these nuanced ways that that conversations always happen, especially in local languages. Of course, we know they are missed a lot by the LLMs, but having a way of building a model that understands those local nuances and the local language spoken in that particular context is particularly very important. And that is also part of the Phoenix process.
Yeah. So we got some funding from the University of Notre Dame, and specifically with partnership with Lisa Shirk's PSEC and Polarization Lab, to build essentially 2 of these open source models from Kenya and Sudan, so building an open source model in Swahili and in Arabic. Another output of the process was essentially like bringing alongside the model classification process was some research questions. And essentially those are twofold. Like, to what extent does Peacebuilder's involvement in this building process affect them, their attitudes, awareness, willingness to use AI? And to what extent does it actually improve the models when you have these content and context-specific efforts developing them? So just out of interest, this is not why these 2 places were chosen. These were chosen because of like long-lasting partnerships and engagement otherwise. But just as an interesting comparison, these 2 models are being developed based on content in Kenya and based on content in Sudan. And if we're talking about AI and peace building, it's just interesting to know that Kenya was named the world's top ChatGPT user. Sudan, although there's of course like ways and workarounds around it, where ChatGPT is officially banned. So it's like a really different technical, social environment in both places.
So maybe you might be asking yourself, how does this process look like? How do you actually build a custom LLM? What does that process look like? So in the context of Kenya and in Sudan, one of the things that we did is we needed people who work in the context, people who understand digital harms, and people who could actually tell us from a diverse set of backgrounds. So we had folks from government, a couple of the friends in the room, folks from media, folks from civil society, and that's just to bring the voices of different actors that are working in different spaces. So the key thing is we worked together to define a problem statement. So what is the problem that we are trying to solve? And the problem that we were trying to solve in the context for Kenya was polarization. So we built a model that understands polarization in the Kenyan context. In Sudan, it was a little bit different because the people we are working with, because of that participatory nature, they told us the problem is hate speech. So we need to actually build something that looks at hate speech as a problem. So that once we define the problem statement, we were able to collect the data together and then develop some annotation guidelines. So how do you define polarization? How do you define hate speech in those local contexts? And then we were able to kind of have some working definitions and examples and worked with the annotators to just understand that a little bit more and make sure that we are able to annotate on a more consistent manner. Even though in the back of their minds is, every social media post is quite different, right? So the beauty of it is that once you're able to annotate, there is also a disagreement part that you're able to look at. Oh, how are we disagreeing in terms of, is someone saying this is polarized, someone else is saying this is not? How do you kind of look at that level of disagreement? Then go into model testing and go back again and re-annotate, testing, re-annotate, and that brings the efficiency level that we need. Next slide, please. So this is kind of one of the platforms that we are using to do the annotation. And what we would do is present a text that we've collected from social media, and then the annotator, who's now the peace builder and the experts that we have in our room today, they would then say, oh, when I read this, based on the definition that we came up with, this actually is definitely polarizing or not polarizing, and they can be able to say why that particular content is polarizing. Is it because they contain vilification, dehumanization, negative stereotype? And when we did that on a more consistent manner on a huge data set, a model started to emerge that understands those local nuances and trained on that local language. Next. And also, of course, at the end of the day, there are posts that they find no polarization on, and that enables us to also know what are the indicators that the model should know that don't contain polarization. Here is an example which you might think that, this is polarizing content, but actually based on the definition we had, this was not, because we are not tone policing. We really wanted to avoid policing people on the tone that they use on social media, but more or less looking at polarization or affective polarization as the component that we are looking into.
So some initial observations on what I had said was kind of the research output side of things, and this is an ongoing process, so this isn't fully developed, but these are some initial observations just based on the experience so far. So far, sort of across the board for peace builders, the AI hype was real, and this wasn't necessarily expected, but everyone was kind of excited and wanted to get on board with AI right away. The second initial observation that I think was interesting was that annotation was described as a fun process, or at least a positive process across the board. For anyone that has done annotation, it is not necessarily that fun. You're looking at thousands and thousands of rows of spreadsheet data and clicking essentially yes or no on these. But when peace builders are doing this about their own context, as a subject matter that they really care about, there was a lot of moral, political commitment to the process, which also made it fun. And you're doing it alongside this diverse group of your peers and cohort members, which made it interesting. Third, peace builders sort of universally talked about AI in terms of efficiency over reinvention. No one was saying that they were afraid that AI was coming for their jobs. No one was afraid, or no one was saying that peace building was going to fundamentally change, but they talked about their existing work and the areas in which that they thought this could make it more effective or efficient, which also I think speaks to the positive of a process like this that is participatory and that it's getting people kind of under the surface, behind the curtains, seeing how the sausage is made, so some of that hype can be like actualized in real possibilities. 4, there was a lot of concern at the beginning and then excitement at the end that peace builders could localize their text classification models. So that was sort of an exciting point. And then a really important point is that the bridges to the model developers and the peace builders were really important. Alan was one of those bridges. Hussam, who is here, is another one of those bridges. So you really did need that kind of mediator or bridge across to be able to have that effective collaboration. A couple of applications? Yes.
So the beauty of this is that we were working with people who are already working in the context. So people in civil society looking at the issue of digital harms and polarization in the context, people in government that are also involved in the issue of hate speech and polarization, people in the media who could do advocacy against, what is happening. And we felt that, working with these people and them understanding the process and learning the process enable them to actually see the bigger picture around how this model could be used in the future to actually, do research or even to do interventions on the ground.
Yeah, and this is feeding into a couple of specific processes in each of those that you'll hear about in other workshops throughout the time, but we just want to say that this was an interesting project overall. The models will be sort of up and available on Phoenix and open source, so you can use them themselves, and then again, talk to us more about the other research outputs. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Alan and Julie, for this presentation. And let's go for the fourth one. So I call to the stage Mar from the Canòdrom. I think some of you went to the Canòdrom a few days ago for a special meeting, and now we have Mar to talk about what they do in one of the projects. And Julie, can we get back the clicker? Please. Mar, the stage is yours.
Thank you. Okay, so thank you. I am very happy to be here. I will briefly explain you what Canòdrom is and what we do. So the Canòdrom is this building here. We believe that another kind of technology is possible, and we work for a more equal, sustainable, and ethical digital transformation in our city, that is Barcelona. So I will briefly explain you what we do, the past lives of the building, our programs, and the governance. So this is the place that, yes, I guess that some of you visited some days ago. It is located in a neighborhood that's called Congress, that is not that far away from here, like 4 metro stations. And many years ago, it used to be a dog track place, like here that you can see. And nowadays, dogs are super welcome, so my colleagues come to the work with their dogs because we love dogs so much, and they have been suffering a lot in the place. So nowadays, we operate at the intersection of open technologies, participatory democracy, and digital culture. And it means that in our daily day, we ask us a lot of questions and we discuss about a lot of topics through exhibition, debates, workshops, performance. Some examples: the links between democracy and open technologies, how technologies can have a more gender perspective, how video games can be used to promote critical, caring, creative thinking, how we can develop projects of citizen science, or how we can fight for our digital rights, or how can we advance through a more technology sovereignty. Some programs that we have, you have to imagine that in the Canòdrom there are a lot of different people. So we have people that don't know how to do a video call, and very nerd people that know a lot about code, and they meet weekly to develop special codes for more ethical video games. Some examples. So we have different types of learning activities to learn from each other. And an example is a project that we did that was called Youth Screens and Action, where some students of our neighborhood develop a research process in terms of how do they feel interacting with the screens. So they talk about social media, disinformation, video games, AI, and it was cool because, well, they follow a research with a research question, hypothesis, gathering data, analyzing results, conclusions. And an interesting conclusion is that many issues related to digital culture are not individual, but shared, systemic problems. For example, linking self-esteem and social media. It was also interesting for teachers to develop a scientific research through familiar topics, and it was interesting for us to develop activities that are interesting for students. We have an open cultural program. We usually work by cycles. The last one that we had, it was about the environmental impact of our technologies, and we did experimental activities to trace all the materials of our materials and reflect on planet obsolescence. And we also did a lot of debates, mixing the academia and social entities of Barcelona to provide alternatives to the data centers of AI. So we are very specially focused on the impacts of data centers in terms of energy consumption, hydric resource stress, energetic centrifugation. So that's some examples. We also have a lab that is the place where I am working, when we accompany research projects, for example, citizen science projects, and we promote a collaborative research between a wide range of agents to, again, provide a more digital transformation that follows the values of the place. This was a cool project where many people of the neighborhood mapped the heat of the neighborhood with physics, and then meet with the municipality of Barcelona to provide some recommendations. And we have a lot of collaborators in our place. So they are from cooperatives, foundation, associations, that some of them are anthropology, or they are more focused on technology. So it's interesting because they mix together and they can establish very nice synergies, especially when we eat, because during the food time, it's a very nice building, so we can talk a lot about different topics from different points of view, so the synergies, the energy is cool. We have now a communitarian radio that many people is using, and it's fun because we have like from students that want to learn how to do a podcast, from more old people of the neighborhood that has a lot of interest in the historical memory of the place that now are using the radio too, and all the content is uploaded to the, let's say, come to say in English, the communitarian net of radios of Barcelona. It's also an open source place. And we have open stands where we do a lot of events, from open cinema to free games or different activities for different publics, because we have, for us it's very important to go to the neighborhood, because sometimes we have people from other countries that sends an email that want to contact with us, but a woman that lives in front of the Canòdrom doesn't really know what we do. They don't know if we are a library, if we are a center where they can learn how to use a computer. So we have a very focus on the people of our neighborhood. So, and it's quite a challenge sometimes. And well, here you have to imagine a very nice infographic that now you cannot see. But the governance is community driven. So we have like different roles that decide what Canòdrom is, what Canòdrom goes. So we have the community that uses the place and can decide the activities that we want to do collaboratively there, the collaborators ecosystem that are these residents that spend their day in the Canòdrom, the city council because it's a municipal place, and the technical office that is like me, that I am working in a cooperative that's called Collective, that we use technology for social transformation, and we manage all the place. And with this goal to revitalize the neighborhood of Congress, but also have a view to Barcelona and to the world. So many thanks, 2 minutes. And if you have time, I mean, we are 4 metro stations from here, so if someday you spend more days here and I don't know, you want to visit us, we'll be very happy to show you what we do. And this is my email, and thank you so much.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you for letting us know about the Canòdrom, a project that is really close to here. And let me call to the stage to Jasmina for the next presentation, the second to last. She's going to talk about peace narratives. So the stage is yours.
Hi. Oh my God. Gracias. Bueno, ¿por qué hablar de narrativas para construir paz? Desde que llegamos hemos dicho que cuando entramos a los espacios digitales nos podemos encontrar con montones de conversaciones que se dirigen a esto, discursos de odio, quizás comunidades organizadas antivenecos, antivenezolanos, anticolombianos, antifeministas, anti-otros, ¿cierto? Esto lo único que nos muestra, entre muchas cosas, es que nos encontramos con una percepción, con una sociedad que percibe la otredad como ese espacio de que esas personas son las culpables de todos los males que ocurren en nuestro país, en nuestros territorios. Entonces, nosotros en el barómetro en el 2001 decidimos decir, bueno, queremos comprender cómo se originan estas narrativas. No solamente la narrativa cuando ya está rodando y cuando ya está impactando, sino cómo se origina, qué la detona, cómo se crea, cómo se amplifica y luego decir, ¿qué vamos a hacer con esto? ¿Cómo transformamos? ¿Cómo incidimos en nuestra sociedad? Lo que hacemos en el barómetro entonces es identificar, monitorear, analizar y visibilizar narrativas sociales sobre migración, racismo, género en diversos países como Colombia, Perú, Ecuador, Chile, y junto a otros aliados hemos estado explorando estas mismas dinámicas en México, Argentina y España. Básicamente el problema que nosotros decíamos es que en ese momento, incluso actualmente, aunque ya hay muchísima información alrededor de lo que implican las narrativas y cómo afecta a la sociedad, era la ausencia de evidencia rigurosa sobre fenómenos. ¿Qué es esto de la xenofobia? ¿Por qué la xenofobia me afecta? ¿Por qué hay una afectación a la sociedad como tal? Queríamos evidencia sólida para la toma de decisiones. Nos propusimos entender cómo se generaban esas narrativas, cómo surgían, quiénes las impulsaban y cómo afectaba directamente a las comunidades. Nuestro objetivo era precisamente proveer información útil, pero sobre todo accionable, ¿sí? Que pudiera servir para tomadores de decisiones, para organizaciones, para la academia, para todos aquellos que hacen trabajo de incidencia a partir de estas realidades. Básicamente nosotros lo que hacemos es un trabajo de escucha social. Para ello utilizamos diferentes tipos de métodos, pero dos principales que nosotros generalmente utilizamos son herramientas tecnológicas como Phoenix, como Brandwatch, que básicamente nos ayudan a entender cómo se habla. Generalmente se usan para, por ejemplo, la plataforma Brandwatch, generalmente se usa para comprender cómo un servicio, producto o persona, qué ocurre alrededor, cómo se habla alrededor de estos productos y tomar decisiones informadas. Decidimos tomar esas herramientas tecnológicas y mezclarlas con otros métodos de recolección de datos como las entrevistas, las encuestas, los grupos focales, y esto nos permitía entender más allá del dato. No queríamos saber cuántas personas estaban afectadas, queríamos saber por qué, cuántas personas estaban afectadas, por qué y qué podíamos hacer ante eso. Básicamente imaginemos un gran lago de datos en las redes sociales. Lo que nosotros hacemos es crear una pregunta, una query, y esta query la construimos con palabras claves. Como decía hace rato el profesor, estas palabras claves, antes nosotros hacemos un trabajo como de revisión, porque las palabras claves responden a características idiomáticas, porque la xenofobia en Colombia, en Chile, en España, todas, aunque la xenofobia signifique lo mismo, se manifiestan de diferentes maneras y poder comprenderlas a detalle implicaba hacer esta investigación. Entonces, en ese gran lago de datos insertamos esta pregunta y lo que nos arrojaba esta pregunta es una especie de embudo que con la que nosotros recogemos esas menciones y esa cantidad de datos nosotros la analizamos, la procesamos, la limpiamos y luego generamos información útil para la comunidad, sobre todo con evidencia. ¿Qué hicimos nosotros en su momento? Entre diversos productos creamos la tasa de xenofobia. Esta tasa de xenofobia fue construida según la literatura sobre comunicación violenta y discursos de odio en línea y la caracterizamos en tres características principales. La primera son los llamados a la violencia. Esto implica incitación, la amenaza directa y a la violencia física contra la población migrante y refugiada, así como el exterminio, homicidio, golpizas o desaparición. Otra categoría que recoge esta tasa de xenofobia son las ofensas, que es la generación de daño moral a nivel individual o colectivo contra la población migrante y refugiada a través de insultos, palabras ofensivas, prejuicios o estereotipos, que es lo más común que nosotros podemos conseguir en las redes sociales. Y una tercera característica es el apoyo al castigo, que son todos aquellos mensajes que apoyan a las sanciones por parte de las autoridades estatales contra la población migrante y refugiada, como la deportación, la expulsión y la aplicación de multas, incluso la encarcelación de personas migrantes. ¿Cómo hacíamos, después que recogimos todos estos datos, cómo hacíamos nosotros para hacer una incidencia efectiva en la comunidad? Si queríamos, ya un poco entendíamos qué ocurría y cómo ocurría. Ahora, ¿cómo lo ponemos a disposición de la comunidad? Creamos una especie de tablero de indicadores dispuesto para la comunidad, donde cualquier persona puede entrar al indicador y conocer, según estas tres tipos de xenofobia, cómo se había movido la conversación en línea, incluso por país. Entonces tú en este tablero tú puedes entrar y decir, bueno, En Colombia, Ecuador y Chile han ocurrido estos picos de xenofobia y además, insisto, dar el dato contextualizado más allá del dato, lo que hacemos es generar unos insights que nos permite entender en ese pico qué fue lo que ocurrió. Entonces, en esos insights tú puedes identificar cuál fue la coyuntura, qué detonó la conversación, por qué subió en comparación con otro país. Esto nos ha permitido entender con mucha mayor precisión cuáles son las narrativas con mayor impacto y destacar unos hitos importantes que, si bien no funcionan todos al mismo tiempo, se ha generado como una especie de patrón que nos permite incluso predecir, monitorear y predecir determinadas situaciones según la coyuntura. Entonces, tenemos un primer escenario que son las coyunturas políticas. La llegada de Trump a Estados Unidos, que ha modificado toda la conversación relacionada con población migrante, etc. Y además, cómo ha incidido en el financiamiento de organizaciones como nosotros y cómo podemos nosotros incidir y seguir trabajando en eso. Esas coyunturas políticas detonan generalmente en espacios cuando hay elecciones, campañas o cambios de gobierno, donde la migración se usa como tema de debate y polarización. Otro espacio que activa narrativas xenófobas son las declaraciones públicas, opiniones de figuras políticas o influenciadores que amplifican los prejuicios y generan oleadas de conversación negativa. Estos espacios, generalmente cuando hay campañas políticas, ya sabemos, podemos predecir y podemos incluso actuar antes o durante ese momento como una especie de monitoreo activo de veeduría de la población para poder nosotros hacer trabajo de incidencia en estos momentos. Hay otros dos hitos importantes que caracterizan las narrativas xenófobas: eventos deportivos y culturales. Generalmente en estos espacios donde se reactivan los discursos nacionalistas o la rivalidad entre países y esos espacios simbólicos que refuerzan estos procesos identitarios, detonan narrativas xenófobas que a veces son difíciles de atajar y que implican un trabajo de incidencia importante. Noticias sobre delitos, la participación o la influencia de los medios de comunicación con estos titulares amarillistas que en muchas ocasiones lo que genera es una gran amplificación de mensajes que afectan directamente a la población migrante. Y obviamente la inteligencia artificial, que ahora cada vez es más fácil generar contenido que no es verificado y que se amplifica de maneras importantes. Entonces, los aprendizajes principales para convertir los espacios digitales en espacios deliberativos para nosotros han sido principalmente monitorear para actuar. No esperar hasta el final de un informe para producir información que pueda ser necesaria y que pueda ser útil para tomar decisiones. El monitoreo es necesario para actuar, para generar evidencia a tiempo para las comunidades. El rigor con enfoque en derechos, es decir, todos estos datos y toda esta información que nosotros analizamos generalmente tienen una mirada con enfoque en derechos humanos. Nosotros nacimos como el barómetro de xenofobia, hoy somos el barómetro de derechos. Nosotros hablamos de xenofobia, discriminación, también hablamos de género, del racismo y todas esas manifestaciones que se interseccionan y afectan los espacios deliberativos. Tejer redes y aprender colectivamente son otros espacios necesarios para poder construir con la comunidad. Unos ejemplos fáciles y quizás no fáciles, pero sí que nos permiten hacer colaboraciones. Espacios de formación para la transformación. Utilizamos herramientas como el teatro del oprimido, metodologías activas que permiten transmitir conocimientos a las comunidades y que podamos también tener retroalimentación de ellas. Estos espacios de formación han generado mucho impacto, sobre todo en aquellos espacios donde están los funcionarios públicos o las personas que atienden directamente a las personas migrantes. Estos datos han servido también como un espacio de evidencia útil para la toma de decisiones. Nuestra tasa de xenofobia es utilizada a nivel nacional como un indicador importante para medir la xenofobia en el país, lo cual genera una evidencia importante de por qué es necesario monitorear. Y también estos datos y tecnologías nos permiten generar acciones de incidencia muy puntuales, como por ejemplo, en algún momento la Corte Constitucional le pidió a una alcaldesa en su momento retractarse de declaraciones xenófobas ante la población por lo que esto podía implicar. Entonces, todos estos espacios nos han dado la posibilidad de crear nuevas formas de comunicar y generar evidencia a través del dato contextualizado. No quiero más que darles las gracias por esta carrera de información. Si tienen alguna duda o aclaración que quieran, pues en cualquier momento de la conferencia les puedo responder. Muchísimas gracias.
Muchas gracias. Muchas gracias, Yesenia, por esta presentación sobre narrativas de paz. Thank you, Yesenia, for this presentation. And let's go for the last one of the morning. The stage is for now for Ana Tinajero with a very special short talk.
Movement is an intangible bridge felt in the spaces between words and sound. I was in Cuba, training in Afro-Cuban dance, when I happened upon this open square. So I pulled out my speaker, and I began dancing, filming for fun, when out of the corner of my eye, I saw a young girl watching. She looked to be dressed for church, about 7, 8, with her hair up in this long braid down her back. And she was copying my every movement. So I began dancing towards her. She began dancing towards me. I'd move, she'd move, one step at a time, till we met in the middle. I leaned in. I asked her name. She leaned right back in, still copying me. I asked again. She leaned again. And that's when I noticed she was deaf. So I gestured, "Thank you." She responded with the universal sign for "I love you." Movement is an intangible bridge felt in the spaces between words and sound. Hola, buenos días. My name is Ana Tinajero. I'm from Los Angeles, California, and I'm an Afro-Latin dancer, in case you can't tell. I have, for the last 25 years, been bringing people together through salsa around the world. It's been my honor. For the last 10 years, I've been combining art and storytelling as a way to uplift undertold stories in our local communities to change the mainstream narratives that we're constantly seeing. Do I have other dancers in the crowd with me today? Yes, show hands. Yes. How about people who love music or dance? Okay, yes. Show up. Well, I have been able to work with organizations to combine art to engage community. And one of my ongoing collaborations is a partnership with the Museum of Science in Boston, where, I don't think this is working again. So we combine, ¿se lo podrían trabajar de nuevo? It's okay. So these are a series of events called A Bailar, and we combine both community engagement and discussion with dance engagement. All right, especially since the pandemic, we're seeing a lot more art spaces still happening virtually, and some of that is also still happening in person, of course. And so through the events, we combine the artistic goal of trying to bring people together through conversation, and we do discuss very difficult topics at points. We've talked about migration and its effect on cultural preservation. We discuss things like social injustices that are caused by climate change. To Yesenia's point, we have talked about the current administration's attacks on immigrants in our local communities. And because of that, we do get patrons from the museum that do ask, well, what does this have to do with science? Right? Of course, we're going to have those questions. But we've maintained that in order to build inclusive spaces, you need to build that in the social sciences in combination with the community, and you even need to take a back seat to community partners. So, in our marginalized communities, we give that voice back to the people in the room. Now, can you imagine what people love the most at these events? Animation. So they do the panel discussion, they head into the ballroom. Nobody wants to be the first person on the floor. And they sit down, we have some instruction, we invite them to dance to the floor. And animation in music is a call and response, so I do something, you follow, very much like what I did with the young girl earlier, right, in my story. And people come in and they just let go. And they get out of their heads and into their bodies. And you see them begin to connect with others in the room around them. Ay, sí, muchas gracias. So they begin to connect with people in the room around them. And you see this noticeable shift in the room, all right? So I'm sure you're wondering why this matters. Well, you start seeing the community coming together and not being afraid to be on the floor. And I know you're wondering, well, what does this have to do with peace building? And you're wondering, Anna, what are you trying to tell me? Do I need you to dance? I am telling you to dance, but I'm also telling you that you're already dancers. Because movement isn't about coming in and learning steps. Nobody comes in to say 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7. They come in because they want to connect and build community. And that's all we're doing. We're building a space for that. And dance is simply movement done in connection with others. So, all I'm asking you to do is to be able to tune into your body, because movement isn't everything we do, but whether we walk into the room, to a handshake, every single thing we do, our posture, the sitting, the way that we hold ourselves in our spaces. So if we pay attention to how our bodies are moving, we can also pay attention to what signals we're giving people in the space, because we might be saying all the right words, and our bodies are saying something completely different. All right? So I'm going to invite you to do one exercise with me today. Are you up for that? Nobody has to get up unless you want to. All right, I'm going to ask you to just breathe in. And release. Good, and sit up in your chair for a moment. Feet on the ground, hands at your knees. Good. And on my count, just breathing in. Counting in, 1, 2, 3, hold, 1, 2, 3, release, 1, 2, 3, hold, 1, 2, 3, breathe in, 1, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, release, 2, 3, 4, and hold, 2, 3, 4, and release. Bring it up, arms up, and stretch. And over. Yeah. And over. Up. Shake it out. Good. Bring your arms into your center. Take your shoulders, shift it forward. And shift. And shift. And shift. And shift. And follow my count. And da, 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 da. And release that, my friends. That is a Cuban shimmy, all right? So we just danced a little salsa together. Thank you for dancing with me. If you want more information about my work, or you want to see more of the artistic work that I've done together in community, feel free to scan me, and I'm here for you. I'm all about engaging community. If you want to have a conversation with me, come shimmy towards me and let's talk. Muchísimas gracias.
Thank you, Anna. Thank you.
Gracias.
And I hope after these movements everybody is hungry because it's lunchtime already. But before lunch, just a few announcements. First, as you can see here, oh, she's not here. Yeah, she's here. We have a graphic recording session with Claudia Meyer. She's working a lot, so please give her a big round of applause. She's going to be with us the 3 days, recording and drawing all the things that we are doing. Second announcement about water. People is asking me where you can get water. Tap water is fine. It's completely fine. So please, if you have your own bottles, you can go and use the water in the toilets because we don't have like public fountains around. Or you can go to the catering room when it's open. And very important, for the workshops, we're going to meet after lunch at 1:30. So in 45 minutes, we have a menu of 8 workshops. You have all the information in the program. You can download the program with the QR codes, or you can find in Build Up website or in the IFIP website, or you have the program there and you can see all the workshops. And you can go anywhere you want, but you have to be there at 1:30. Important for the people organizing the workshops, at 3 we will have a break to go for coffee. So please take that into consideration when you are in the workshops, that at 3 there will be coffee available in the catering room. And then we will see each other at 5 here in the planning room for the last session of the day. So please, now if you want, you can go to the catering room and you can have lunch and see you in the workshop rooms at 1:30. Thank you.